Welcome to the Susan Brender Show. It's all about you, featuring shows on health and wellness, the performing arts, politics, and people who inspire you to be your very best. And now, here's Susan Brender.
I'm Susan Brender, and this is the Susan Brender Show. Today, I'm having Patricia Preston Roberts as my guest. Welcome back to the show, Patricia. I'd like to tell my audience a little bit about you. Now, Patricia began singing at age 12 in churches, then at weddings and funerals. She went on to perform in everything she auditioned for in Michigan, including different types of bands, operas, and musicals. In her professional career as a performer, primarily a singer, but also as an actor and a dancer, she performed, and sometimes still does, for approximately 15 years all over the United States, including New York City. I want to welcome to my show again, Patricia Preston Roberts.
Hi, Susan.
Well, hi there, Patricia. So, Patricia, you learned to play music and deal with music therapy, and you decided to pursue a career in this path, as well as that of a psychotherapist. Why did you do that?
Well, I think after a long time of performing, I started feeling like it was a little bit narcissistic in a way, and I wanted to have a home at a certain point, and I came back to New York, and I was told by someone about music therapy, and I was like very excited because it was two things that I was very interested in, was music and therapy. So I was told about someone who worked at Beth Israel Hospital, and told that I could call her and she might let me observe her, so I did. And I was just immediately blown away with how it worked. So I went into music therapy as a client myself for 2 years to see if I really believed it was a good form of therapy, and I did. So that's what happened. I applied. I auditioned, actually. You have to audition at NYU to get into the program because they only accept 18 people a year. And I got in, so I did that for 2 years, including an internship, and I worked at different jobs for a number of years, and then I began my own private practice.
Now, Patricia, tell our audience a little bit more about music therapy, because not everybody understands the job, and it's very important for them to understand what music therapy does. So would you tell our audience about that?
Oh, I wish I had known. I would have gotten some information down. Well, what I like to think of it is, because I do something called vocal psychotherapy, music therapy is really the use of music in helping someone deal with whatever problems they're dealing with, and that can run from a toddler with autism to a teenager with at-risk behavior to an adult who is needing help with the pressures of daily life to a senior with memory problems and everything in between. So music definitely has healing powers, and that has certainly been medically proven.
Now, there are a number of issues that you just explained, for example, autism and Alzheimer's and various other diseases. Now, this music therapy, give us an idea. For example, if I was sitting in your office and I really needed your help, how does it all? Give us the story of or the process of music therapy. And imagine then I was sitting in the chair. What would you say to me? What would you do?
Well, you would walk in, and I would be observing the way you walk, the way you talk, everything about you, because I believe that all of our behavior is music. So you can learn a tremendous amount about someone through observation. So in my office, I have a number of instruments that are called no error instruments. In other words, anyone can play them and not make a mistake, especially if the therapist is playing a harmonic instrument in a key that will work with those instruments. So say I have a set of drums, a series of hand drums, and a number of hand percussion things like maracas and rhythm sticks. I may also have a metallophone, which is in the key of F, and you go to play that. Well, then I'm going to play the piano in the key of F so that no matter what you play on that metallophone, it's going to be harmonic with what I'm playing. So no matter what you play, you're never going to go, oh my God, I can't play, this is horrible, I'm embarrassed. You're going to feel empowered rather than disempowered.
Interesting. Now, is it the way you deal with your practice, is it different for an adult than a child, or is music therapy just music therapy for all?
Well, of course, just as if, you were doing psychology with a child rather than an adult, it's different because the client is different. But, of course, there are therapists for both. So the treatment is different in that the client is different, but the modality is similar in that music therapy is music therapy. But I'm not going to be playing The Ant Goes Marching 2 by 2 with you like I might with a toddler. I may be doing a Jerome Kern tune with you, and I may be doing children's songs with the children. So, and also they don't have as much coordinated capability as an adult does. So you give them tasks that are going to be rewarding for them.
How effective have you found your treatment using music therapy as a way to help children and adults? Have you found it really effective?
Well, I always tell a story about an old man that was in the hospital, and he was nearing end stage, and the nurses had put him out in the lobby because he was bothering them. He was crying out, and he just couldn't be calmed down, and they didn't know what to do with him. So I walked over to him, and I knelt down, and I just began to very quietly sing some lullabies to him. And he totally quieted down. And the nurses looked at me and said, "What did you do?" And, he was returning to childhood, so it soothed him very much. So
now, Trish, tell me something. You've become a celebrant and an ordained non-denominational minister. You've worked with hundreds of couples to create the wedding of their dreams. Now, how does that relate to what you do with music therapy?
Well, there's a few times when couples have said, "Could you sing too?" And I said, "No, because this is not going to be the Trish show. This is going to be your wedding." So I don't know that it directly has anything to do with it, except that I just enjoy being creative and being of service to people. So I work with people. They come to me and they say, we don't want to get married in the church. We want our wedding to be not a dogmatic wedding. We want, one person might be Jewish, one person might be Catholic. They want to make their own ceremony. So I start from scratch. I give them each a set of questions, and I ask them to answer them, but not to show the other person their answers. Then they email me the answers. I take their answers, and I weave them into an introduction to the ceremony. And usually there's a lot of laughter and tears during that part of the wedding. And then I give them options for the asking, the vows, the consent, which is the asking, and the readings for the ceremony, and the declaration of marriage. And so, they get to decide for themselves how they want it to be. I've had older couples, ask to call in the directions and the elements. And I've had young couples want a very conservative, kind of straightforward ceremony. So people vary so widely in what they want. But you just work with the people. So it's kind of similar in that you're working with the people to help them.
Yes.
And that's the way music therapy is too.
Now, how does somebody become a celebrant? And I think it's a very interesting word, but not everybody knows what a celebrant is. So first thing, tell us how you define celebrant. And the second part of it is, what does a celebrant, how does somebody become a celebrant?
Well, there's an organization called the Celebrant Foundation and Institute, and it exists in Montclair, New Jersey. It also exists in Australia, but the man from Australia came over to help the people in New Jersey set up the Celebrant Foundation and Institute. And now there are celebrants that are in like 6 different countries, I believe. So it's spreading greatly because people don't go to church like they used to. They want different options. And what you do is you train, because some people are funeral celebrants, some people do all different kinds of ceremonies. There are all different kinds of ceremonies. There's baby namings. There are even divorce ceremonies. There are, as many kinds of ceremonies as you can imagine. And so I went for a year. I studied with them. And I also was ordained by Universal Brotherhood. And so that was what gave me my legal status to marry people. Mm-hmm. And even now, I actually married my niece in Florida, and I just had to call the city government and ask if that was okay. And they said, sure, no problem, but it depends very much on what state you're in. You always have to check with the government and make sure that it's legal.
Trish, you've done so many things in your life, and I think we're going to turn to one of the issues that you and I discussed, and that is the fact that you've been diagnosed with MS. And so while you're doing all of this, how do you function? And please, when will you tell our audience when you were diagnosed with MS?
I was diagnosed 15 years ago.
And can you tell us a little bit about MS?
Well, I'm no scientific person, I can tell you that, but I can tell you my understanding of it. The spine has a myelin sheath around it, and MS is a disease of the central nervous system. What happens is people get lesions on the myelin sheath, sometimes also in the brain, and that affects the messaging from the brain to the rest of the body. So, for instance, you may have trouble walking, you may have trouble, you can imagine the different kinds of things you have trouble with. Mm-hmm. It's different for everyone. I've never experienced a disease that is so tremendously different for everyone, and different from day to day, which is just so unusual. Different from day to day.
Wow. Now, is it a genetic disease, or are there any known causes?
Well, no one is absolutely sure, but I searched for a genetic factor in my family, and I eventually found out that a distant cousin of mine had it. She's actually a cousin, but not someone who I ever saw. And I found out that she had it, and interestingly enough, she's a big horsewoman, which is something that's supposed to be very good for people with MS, is horseback riding. Mm-hmm. And other than that, I don't know anyone in my family who has ever had MS, any of my ancestors or anyone else. So, I don't know how much of a genetic factor that is in my family. I don't know. The people I know don't have family that has MS, but who knows, MS is really a tremendous mystery, and especially to the medical community. They've been trying to come up with a cure for so long, and, they get to stage 3 of numerous things, and then they're just flummoxed.
Yeah. Now, this is a very serious discussion, and I think we need to do it because while you started talking about some of the things that you do, they're probably influenced a great deal by your disease. So we're going to take a short break. Let me repeat to the audience that Patricia Preston Roberts is our guest today. She began as a singer and an actor, and she is something else. And even though she has this disease, she doesn't let it interfere with all the wonderful things she does. So now let's take a break.
Rose Passion's beauty products are blooming. My name is Lady Suzette Freud, founder of Rose Passion Beauty Products, 100% organic and safe. Rose Passion is for all ages, women, men, young children, and babies. The perfect gift for the passionate rose in your life. A natural beauty secret from Earth Divine. Find me at rosepassionbeauty.com.
Okay, we're back with Patricia Preston Roberts. Now, Patricia, you talked about some of the causes of MS. Maybe they're genetic, and sometimes nobody even knows. But how do you keep yourself in shape? What do you do?
Well, wonderfully, I have a great trainer who, interestingly enough, after I worked with him for 5 years, he was diagnosed with MS. Oh. Which was just a horrific surprise to both of us. But nevertheless, he continues to be my trainer. Mm-hmm. And he is right behind me no matter what I'm doing, ready to catch me if I fall, because balance loss is a problem with MS. And with him, I'm able to lift 150 pounds. I am able to squat. I am able to do 50 sit-ups at a time. I'm able to bench press, deadlift, all kinds of things. So exercise plays a very big role in my life. And luckily enough, he's also a masseur. So after I work out with him, he stretches me, mm-hmm. and then he gives me a wonderful deep tissue massage. And I'm just sure that has helped me tremendously to maintain some of my physical ability.
So alternative medicine has an effect on you, doesn't it?
I think so, definitely. I mean, I haven't tried acupuncture, and because the word out in what I've seen is that it has not proven to be tremendously helpful for MS. But I'm not convinced that if I went to a really, really good Eastern acupuncturist, that it wouldn't be helpful. Mm-hmm. I think the jury is still out on that.
Mm-hmm. Now, conventional doctors, what do they do for people who have MS?
Not too much. They prescribe. They keep an eye on it. They diagnose in the beginning, but, there's not a whole lot they can do. So I just had an appointment with my doctor not too long ago, and, it was basically your 15-minute experience where, she pushed against me, and I had to push back, so she was checking my strength, and I almost pushed across the room. So there's that. The doctor I was seeing before her used to every week, not every week, every time I saw him, he would time my fast walk. He would have me try to walk one foot in front of the other, which I could never do. I don't think anybody can really do that. And so, there are a few tests that they do to check what your progression is and how things are going. But other than that, there's not a lot that can be done.
Right. Yeah. It's a shame. That's what I would say about that. But attitude is another thing that I wonder if it has an effect on you, because you've got seemingly a wonderful attitude. And does that help to kind of take away the stress of what you're going through?
Absolutely. I mean, I've sort of made peace with myself. The turtle has become my power animal because I always say slow and steady wins the race. And I always say that the reason I got this disease is because it was the universe's way of telling me I have to slow down. I was going so fast in so many different directions before I was diagnosed that something was bound to happen.
Yeah. Now, what do you miss most from before you had this disease?
Oh, hands down, dancing.
Are you not able to dance at all?
Well, you have to understand, I was dancing on stage, so, and at parties, if there were the MTV dancers, I used to get up in front of them and pretty much copy what they were doing. And one day I did that, and I fell. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's weird. But come to find out, that's why. And once in a while, my husband and I will dance around in the kitchen. But no, I really can't because I just don't have the balance anymore. I mean, if he holds me up and I could slow dance, but no, I can't really dance, not what I would consider dancing.
I see. Now, have you grown in any ways from having this disease?
Have I grown?
Yes.
Well, I think so. I mean, I think I've had to learn patience with myself, which sort of bleeds over into patience with other people and compassion for other people. I remember one day I was going down to a YMCA and I was walking down some steps and this older guy looked at me and he said, "Oh, we can see who's been drinking this morning."
Oh, geez.
And I said, "No, I have a mess." And he was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I think it was worse for him than it was for me.
So you think that people are sort of prejudiced? They have biases when they see somebody who's in the situation you're in?
Well, I think, there's an actor who has MS, and he didn't go out for years because he was afraid people were going to think he was an alcoholic. I don't know if you know who Lenny and Squiggy were with Laverne and Shirley.
Unfortunately, I don't know, but certainly know the name of that show. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the actors that was on that. Yeah, and I don't know what the situation is now. And I know Terry Garr has MS, and I see her occasionally on a show, but she's always sitting. Mm-hmm. So, it's yeah. I'm not going to say that all people feel that way. I mean, there are people who see me walking with my cane and they're tremendously nice. There are other people who want to help you when you don't need help, and so you just say, I'm fine, thank you. Mm-hmm. And there are other people who just will barge right into you and not think a second thing about it. So, mm-hmm. It depends on the person.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure it does. Now, if you had to give someone newly diagnosed any advice, what would it be?
Well, first, I would say, don't listen to what every well-meaning person comes up and tells you about MS, because my trainer and I were talking about this the other day, and, people come up to you and they're like, oh, my cousin has MS and she's totally cured because of this and this and this. And, and he said to the person, how often do you see them? Mm-hmm. And they're like, well, not very often. So, and he's like, well, then how do you know? Because people are just, they want to believe that that's the case, but at this point, it's not the case. I mean, they have found that diet helps a lot, but that's as far as it's gone. Exercise and diet are helpful.
Right, yes. Now, Patricia, you've recently begun an exciting new career phase, that of a transformational life coach. You help women and you help them to overcome roadblocks that are keeping them from living their best lives. This is a very interesting thing that you're doing, and I want you to tell the audience how what's up next, because I know that you're also going to be doing a podcast, and I want you to tell the audience about that as well.
Yes. When I say I'm working with women, that doesn't mean I won't work with men, but my primary goal is to work with women, and I've been working with a woman who is having a terrible time finishing her dissertation. So I've been working with her on a weekly basis, and she's a friend. So with her, it's been kind of I'm just doing it because she's my friend, and with her, it's been kind of a combination psychology / coaching, which would not be the normal situation if I were working with someone who wanted to coach with me. It would be coaching, not therapy. And the difference being, it's more about finding out what that person is struggling with and how we can set up the best goals for them to work through that, and, help them in any way to find a way to overcome those things that are keeping them from accomplishing what they want to accomplish.
Yeah. Now, your company is called Trish Roberts Coaching, where dreams come alive. That's a very, very beautiful way to describe your company. How did you come to call it that?
Well, I have a wonderful coach who came one day, flew up from Florida, and did a power day with me. So we came up with it together. And sorry for the ums.
It's all right.
We came up with a book and a podcast, and his company is building me 2 sites. One is my podcast site and one is a web page, which is not up yet. But, you know, I picked my mantra out, which is I want to help women stand in their power and pursue their dreams. And we also picked up Trish Talk Radio, where dreams come alive, which is my podcast. Interviews starting in December.
Now, if people want to talk to you about MS or just want to talk to you as a music therapist, how do they get in touch with you?
My website is P as in Peter, R as in Robert, Music Therapy 12 at gmail.com. So they can always email me and about anything, coaching, music therapy, whatever, anything. And I would be honored to talk to them. And they can also visit my site, which is facebook.com/Trish, Trish, Talk Radio.
Well,
so
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I'd love it if they would visit the site and say hello.
Sure. Now, Patricia Preston Roberts, you're a very great inspiration to many because MS is a serious disease and various people all around the world have it and people don't know enough about it. So I want to thank you for giving them a little advice and also for sharing some of the things that have happened to you. Thank you very much for being on the Susan Brender Show.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Susan Brender Show. To be a guest, email sebrender@yahoo.com.